Welcome, welcome, welcome everybody to another Sunday of When Black Women Gather. We are going to talk today with Juanda Honore. Let me bring Juanda up on screen, and we're going to talk about financial literacy. Let me say, Juanda, how come I don't see your picture? Oh, there you are. Okay. We're going to talk to Juanda, and we're going to talk about financial literacy and how we can all walk into the new year in a better financial standing. I have to share with you that I met Juanda through a college classmate of mine. Some of you might know Anthony Phillips, particularly those of you who are local. And Anthony and Juanda do this work together. So thank you, Anthony. I was trying to spotlight you, but I can't find you either. I'm doing too many things at once. So here he is. So here's Anthony. He's trying to play shy, so I told him I'll do the intro. But for those of you who are in Glassboro, in the Glassboro, Camden area, that's Anthony. So Anthony and or Juanda will be following up with those of you who are interested in what she has to talk about today. So thank you, Anthony. Appreciate it. Okay, he's not going to say anything for real. Okay. Okay. Is he trying to say something?
Thank you for the opportunity. My unmute button was stuck.
Okay. Okay, you're welcome. Thank you for making the connection. I appreciate it. Okay. All right, so Juanda Honore. Hey, Juanda, how you doing?
I'm doing just great.
Don't you all love the spelling of her name? I do. It was her father's thing, like Juan, the Spanish name, Juanda. I loved it. But anyway, Juanda is a founder and financial coach of Urban Financial Literacy. She is based in LA, and she has been a business owner and entrepreneur for over 30 years. She has owned multiple businesses in the LA community. Her first business was the TJ Cinnamon's Bakery. Everybody remembers those, right? The franchises. And that was in 1888. Did I say 18? 1989 in Baldwin Hills, Crenshaw Plaza. She was the youngest and the only African-American female franchisee and the youngest business owner in the mall when it opened in 1989. After the closing of the bakery, Juanda worked in urban communities across the country promoting entrepreneurship and economic development. Juanda recently founded an organization called Urban Financial Literacy, which was created to address the economic disparity between communities of color and mainstream society due to a lack of financial education. Financial literacy is a subject that is not taught in most schools. Most people learn from personal financial information from our family and friends, and unfortunately, most of our families and friends do the same. And as a result, we all end up making bad financial decisions based on information from people who have no professional background in financial education. So, Urban Financial Literacy is an organization that was founded to address the issue. They focus on educating middle and low income families, especially in the African-American community, on money matters by teaching money principles to the average person to help them make more informed financial decisions and achieve their financial goals. Urban Financial Literacy has a mission to educate 1,000 families in the urban community annually. They achieve this via conducting workshops, speaking to community groups like ours, educating people from the age of 18 to 75, and by following up with those clients desiring their services. They believe that everyone should be blessed with God's prosperity, and Juanda will tell you more about what she does. So please join me in welcoming Juanda to When Black Women Gather.
Well, thank you for the introduction. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I have been on several of the calls. I actually was introduced to the call a long time ago when you had on the astronaut that I actually thought was related to you through my cousin.
Oh.
And then later on, I found out that Anthony and you were dear friends. And so that was a great opportunity to get a chance to meet you. And I really love the work that you and the ladies have been doing across the country. It's something that is, is very near and dear to me because I've always been about working within our community not just on the economic aspects or the financial aspects, but also on any aspect that's going to improve our situation. So I'm very, very happy to be here this afternoon with you ladies. And I hope that you will find the information that I share to be beneficial and enlightening. And hopefully you will also take advantage of it, because a lot of times people think that knowledge is power, but it's actually the implementation of that knowledge that is actually the power. Because we hear a lot of things sometimes and we don't do anything about it. And sometimes that kind of continues us in the same trajectory that we're going in. And so just a little bit more about myself and my background that kind of led me into this, because this is not something that I grew up to say I want to be involved in financial literacy or even the financial industry at all. It's something that happened as kind of as an accident of things that happened to me. But just a little background, in terms of looking at, because we're talking about women of color, I grew up in a middle-class family for the most part. My family is from Louisiana. That's where the Honore comes from. And even though Helen likes the spelling of my first name, it's kind of crazy because the rest of my name is actually French, which my father was Creole. And my first name, he kind of changed around. So that's a whole nother story. But my grandmother on my mother's side was a domestic for a white family. And I didn't really know a lot about that family, but I knew about the name Miss Rose, and that was who she had worked for. And so she only had probably a elementary education. But despite that, and the fact that they, were living in a time where it was really hard for people, they were able to have put together a nice living. My grandfather did work around the city in terms of building and so on. And they had actually built the house that my mother grew up in, which was a fourplex. And my mother was the only person in the family that actually went to college. She had 4 other siblings, but she was the only one that actually went to college. And I looked around really, and even after that, most of my cousins never went to college either, or finished college. But in any event, my mother was the only one that kind of moved away, and she moved away to Los Angeles, and she became an educator. And so, she was doing, she did very well, and she took care of my sister and I. For the most part, my mother actually was a single parent because her and my father broke up when I was fairly young. But she made sure that we had everything that we wanted, and we never wanted for anything. We did cruises, we did all the things that, pretty much a lot of families, didn't even think about doing. But when I got out of college, that was when I first kind of realized the disparity between the income of my mother and even myself. Because when I got out of college, I actually was making more money than my mother as a professional. She was an administrator at one of the schools school districts here in what they call it in Compton, California. And I actually made more than her because I had to take care of her bills while she was actually back in where I was taking care of my grandparents one time. And I really kind of, it kind of saddened me, but at the same time, it made me proud to see all that my mother was able to accomplish. And even the home that I lived in, still to this day, my mother was able to move us into this home. And at the time, it was still a predominantly white area, which unfortunately is turning back, gentrification. But it was an area that most people that looked like me did not live in. And so she did very, very well. And so unfortunately, she got sick at an early age and she died when I was in my early 20s. But she did leave behind a legacy, which, at the time I felt very proud to have. And I didn't have a lot of education about it, but I knew I didn't want to just blow it and just throw it away. And so I looked at the different things that I can do, and I decided I wanted to open a business in the Los Angeles area. And so that is what I set out to do, with no real knowledge, but just, went through different people and learned about stuff and took classes and what have you. And eventually I opened up a franchise, like the franchise that Helen spoke about. However, I didn't really understand what that meant. I signed my name to papers. I looked at the fact that a franchise would be great. I wanted to help people in my community, but I didn't realize the I didn't think about a lot of things. One was, well, how much money did I really want to make? Two was, what was that going to mean? Was I going to be able to retire doing this? At the time, one thing that Helen didn't mention is I was also a law enforcement officer with the school district. And so I was working there and I had put things together, I thought, to be able to keep that going and not have to take from my income, from my working capital. But anyhow, all that stuff fell apart. And as time went on, I was there for 5 years trying to struggle, both working the job, doing the business. And I finally just had to file bankruptcy, and there was just a lot of things that I didn't know. And I thought I could, make it through because I had an accountant, I had an attorney, I had all these different people involved. And I thought, okay, I was going to be successful. And so fast forward, I still had my job at the time with the school police department. So I was able to bounce back from that and then start looking at other things because I was never happy working for other people. So leading up to where I am kind of today, there's a lot of things that happen, a lot of different businesses, a lot of different opportunities, a lot of different things that occurred. But one of the things that I realized with anything that I got involved in, and I was the type of person that if it sounded like it was going to make money, was it from stocks to real estate to different business opportunities and you name it, I was going to take advantage of it. Because I wanted to do well. I wanted to be what I call rich. I wanted to retire before I was 50. And I had all these great plans that I wanted to do. But what I didn't have was the mentorship. I didn't have some of the wherewithal to know about things. And I didn't have certain things in place that I am going to talk to you about, in a few minutes that I really should have before I stepped out and tried to do all the great things or all the things that I wanted to, to do. And so Anthony actually came into the picture. I met Anthony because I got involved with an organization whose mission was actually to work within our communities at bring our people together with our manufacturers, because we know that we spend most of our dollars, unfortunately, still outside of our communities, and we don't recycle our dollars as much as other communities do. And as a result, that weakens our community because we're constantly spending money and helping build other communities and not so much, our own. In recent times, I was very happy to see that we kind of, trying to look differently at that whole picture. But at the time that we were doing this, we were just trying to galvanize people to think the way that they're now starting to think. And so I actually left my job as a school police officer to do that. I felt so strongly about it that I thought I prepared myself. I left the income, the pension, all of that, because I felt that this was going to be something that was really important for me, and I would be able to make the money up. And I put myself in a financial situation that I felt I would be all right to do all this. But things happen, and this is the situation that, unfortunately, I think that many people don't think about the things that what if. And what if I never would have thought in a million years that an organization that I joined before I could get going good with it, after I left the type of position that I had that was making very, very good money, that the co-founder of that position, of that organization, would be killed as a result of the sniper shootings that they've had in DC. And so that was something that, it was almost unbelievable to think that this was something that I'm here on the West Coast and I'm being directly impacted by that situation on the East Coast. And it really just changed my whole life, because I had set about to do this, the work of working with this particular organization. And because of what happened, the organization only lasted another year. And being stubborn and determined to keep working with people that look like me, I still focused on different organizations and businesses and what have you to be able to, make a living and to do the work that I was doing. But as we know, what happens with most situations when we are involved in it, and sometimes we don't have the finances that we need to continue. So during that time, the real estate market was going. And so during the real estate market, everybody was looking at it as, the great opportunity for everyone to build wealth and get rich and so on and so forth. And I never really thought about the real estate market. I hadn't been really educated very well on it, but I decided, hey, this is a great time for me now to do this. I still had a nice sum of money and I still was able to look into other situations. And so in any event, I got involved because of going to different clubs and things that taught about real estate, got my license, in fact, became an investor. And before everything was over with, I had 7 properties. And then guess what happens? The real estate market took a tumble. Right before I was able to do the things that I was supposed to do to make sure that I was okay with my real estate investments, the real estate market took a dive, and I lost literally 6 properties that I had acquired. And I was fortunate to keep my own, but that was just teetering really at that point. And so now I'm fast forward, I started all this, as a business owner and so on and so forth when I was in my 20s. Now I'm almost to my 50s. I'm in my late 40s, and I don't really know what I'm going to do, but I knew I had to go back to work, which is one of the things I just grudged doing. And because I had most of my experience in law enforcement, security related things, that's what I did. And so in going back to work, I realized a lot of things had changed. And when I went back from a position that was more government related to a private position. And of course, the things were different. First of all, found out no pension. Second of all, found out no benefits when I leave unless I become old enough to get my medical through Medicare or what have you. And then there were a lot of things that were going on that, as an older Black female, which at the time I didn't realize that was a thing, but I found out soon enough that being an older Black female, as they call the trifecta, was definitely an issue. And so, when I started back and didn't get in the position that I came to be and ended up in the position paying half the amount of money, that was a big shock for me. And I still had a home, and my home required a fair amount of money to keep it, keep it. And so I found myself working 16-hour days, 6 days a week, finding all type of hustles that I could. And I still didn't know what to do. But at the time, because I got involved in so much, I couldn't take the chances. I wasn't going to take any more risks. I was just going to work, and I was just going to figure it out because I didn't know what else to do. I was just going to work and figure it out. And hopefully, something would come about. I didn't know what, but as it happened, I was listening to the radio and I heard some information. I was actually on Christian radio programming out here. And that information was something that literally changed my life. And the person was talking about financial literacy, and they were talking about, people who, no matter what age, they can still have some hope about, the things that they wanted to do. And they were also they're also talking about the opportunity to, meet with them and talk about it. And, I was thinking, well, I had very little, no money. I said, well, if they're going to charge me anything for this, I can't do anything. So it's probably not even worth my effort. But the last thing the person said was free. And he said that we can look at what's going on. It's free. It's no obligation. And I said, hey, free, I can do. And so I went and I did speak to the person, and actually ended up meeting another person that I had already been acquainted with who was in the education field. Excuse me. And had to go leave and come back, and have been using this to help get himself together, and have been working with the teachers in the school district that I left. And so he became my mentor, and the information, I started listening to and thinking about. And then as time grew, I found this as something that was really something akin to what I had been doing before, helping people, an opportunity to not only help myself, but help other people. And so one of the things that I realized, and I'm going to share my screen and get going with the presentation, and then I'll also allow an opportunity for anyone that wants to ask questions or whatever. But one of the things that I found was that the information that I learned was something that many of the people that I speak to do not know themselves. And it doesn't make a difference what age the person is. It's something that most people, because they haven't been exposed. I mean, my mother, when she left the money, it was two of us, myself and my sister. I was in my 20s. My sister's a little older. Sister had all the education in the world and was the one probably the most likely to succeed out of her family because she was just studious, always wanted to study. I would do the best I could, decent grades, but I wanted to go and have a good time. She went to Stanford. She even came out to the East Coast to George Washington University. And she had all these degrees. But when it came down to it, when she was able to get the inheritance that my mother left, which was for both of us a six-figure income, she chose to take her money and she became the biggest gambler in Vegas. She thought she was going to beat the system. She went, and not just Vegas, Tahoe, Reno. I mean, everywhere she could go to gamble, she thought she was going to write books about it. I don't know what happened. It was just totally, not the character for her, but this was what she did. And of course, we all know how that story ended. They kept her money and she went broke. And then she decided she didn't want to work anymore. And she actually was doing something similar in the financial industry. And so she's gone from pillar to post for years, not working. And it was just kind of crazy because she didn't get on drugs. She wasn't, she didn't have alcoholic issues or anything like that. She just decided to change her opinion of life and didn't want to participate in the way that she had before. And so, that just showed that people with all the education in the world, if you don't have this type of information, this type of financial literacy, you still can make big, big mistakes. And so, when I heard the information again, and I saw what it could do for people, I was very, very thrilled to be able to share this information. And of course, because people that look like me and women and whatever are always the ones that I always want to deal with most. And actually the people that I work with, predominantly the people that I work with are people of women of color and I, Black women. And I love that because this is a field that most times it's white, males, and, they're telling us what to do. And we're just listening to it and we say, oh, I got my financial advisors told me this, that, whatever. And we don't even know what they're saying most of the time, but we just do it because they say they're their financial advisor. They have all these different certifications. But anyhow, we work with some of those same companies that the financial advisors work with. We work with other companies, all the different companies you see here in over 40. And the reason why I share this is because we people always when we think about that maybe what we're talking about is not the same as what other people are talking about, but it really is, although we talk about it from a different perspective. And so when we deal with people, we're not captive to have to worry about any one particular company. We worry about what's happening with that group. And so when we talk about our situation in general, I just put together some statistics. Some of this I'm sure you probably already know, but I just got some recent statistics. And this also kind of goes along with what's happening with this pandemic and how, unfortunately, we are in a worse situation when it comes down to overall coming out of it as fast as other groups may do. Because when you look at what's going on in the second quarter of 2020, white households had 94 trillion in wealth. Black households, 4.6 trillion in wealth. So in 2019, we had 17% of white households expected to receive an inheritance. 6% of Black households expect to receive. And white households, you have savings of 8,100. Black households, savings of 1,500. I'm sorry. All right. Okay. And then when we look at, even in terms of home ownership, which most people, use as a benchmark for wealth, white families had 75% of white families own homes and 42% of Black families own homes. Even in terms of retirement equity, which, a lot of us unfortunately have had to do this. And I know a lot of my friends and people that I work with, this is something that's a very big reality, is because their retirement is being used as a savings, and it shouldn't be, because then what do you have? And that's something that happened to me. I had a 6-figure retirement that when I left from the school board, and I was able to take that, and I didn't even have to pay a dime in it. But I didn't know about it. I didn't value it. I didn't really understand. I said, well, I was young. I didn't need to worry about it. So, fast forward, I have 0 of that left, and I have a 401 that pays me very little. Now I'm wishing I knew, but it's the education. Nobody really properly explained. And my so-called financial advisor helped me into that situation because he was more interested in helping me put my money into something that he could benefit from right then than looking at what I needed for the long run, and took me out of the PERS retirement system, which is something that I'm sure those of you who are familiar with either, PERS or pensions in general know that that's not something I should have ever agreed to do. And so when we look at retirement equity for households of people under 35, we see that they had an average of $7,500 in 2019, and only 4% of them might have borrowed or cashed out their savings. I'm sorry, this is, this should be Black households right here. And Black households, oh no, this is still white house, I'm sorry. And white households over 55, they cashed out only 10% of their retirement. Now, when you look ahead at what Black households did under 35, Black households under 35, they had only $5,000, and they borrowed 14% of that. So even at a young age, we're starting to look at utilizing our retirement as a savings, which is only going to lead to disaster later, because that's how I got into my situation. And then we have Black households over 55 having 22% of them borrowing or cashing out their savings. And so, if this is money that we're looking to have for our future and we're using it now to take care of today, then, the future is going to look similar to what happened with me. And so now we look at Black women in general. Black women are actually business owners, account for more than 8.6 million businesses and control more than 14 trillion in assets. And so this is to say that we are definitely, not people who don't have money, and we are definitely have the wherewithal to accomplish this. But when we look at other aspects of how we deal with our money, we don't unfortunately translate that into a lot of the our personal finances or what have you, because 70% of women usually will change their financial advisors. That's a fact in regards to, and that's in terms of them not really understanding or knowing what to deal with. You have, sorry, this button. Only 49% of women contribute to their financial, to their retirement plan. And we know that's very important. And if you're not contributing and taking it out, it's just as detrimental. 37% of women who are more likely to think than, or more likely than men to think that they will need to accumulate less than 250,000. And I don't know if any of you have ever looked at what your number is. When you say your number, what you're going to really need to be able to live the same way you're living now, or the way that you would like to live when you retire. But most people, this is very true. They will give numbers like 100,000 or something along this line. And if you think about it, even just along the lines of even without inflation, that's just such a low number, if you're going to be able to live. And most people are going to, if you look at you retiring at 65 or 70 years old, and you're going to live until 85, hopefully 90 or more. My godmother, she's obviously, that's a different time, but she lived till she was 95. So, if you retired, and she retired way back when she was in her 60s. So, that's 30 something years that you would have to live. And if you only have $100,000 to $200,000, then that's not going to be very much. 11% of women age 65 and older, or what they consider poor, having an income lower than $11,800 a year. And I'm sure some of us know people who are just basically barely making it and just able to make it only because of different types of subsidies they may get. Widows generally outlive their husbands by an average of 14 years. And so that's even more important why we need to, as Black women, know more about what's going on, with our money. My godmother, my godfather died in 1983. And she just passed actually last year. So she outlived by, at least 30 years or more, and so that was a long time that she had to make sure that she was able to figure out how to maintain. And so today, what I want to kind of go over is, not spend a lot of time, but give you just an idea of the things that we have found that women really need to kind of understand and, and have a better grasp of, and hopefully give you at least enough information that you will want to maybe look further into, what you can do and what we can help you to do to be able to be more successful in your financial future. So in retirement, most of us understand that, retirement, it's really what we call a three-legged stool. We have most people look at it as Social Security, we look at it as a pension, and we look at it as savings, and, in this situation, I don't know how many people have actually looked at a Social Security statement, because most people aren't getting a Social Security statement anymore. I don't think anybody really is, and I think that's on purpose, because they don't really want you to pay attention. Because when you look at your Social Security statement, you'll see where we have highlighted that that you're doing all this work, but you're going to, in 2033, we're looking at 77 cents on the dollar. And that's not just for the people who have not gotten the Social Security. That's going to go back to also those persons that already have it. So this is potentially going to be a big decrease in what people can expect from Social Security, let alone if you're really young, and then what you may or may not have. And so if you're looking at that as something that's going to be a major factor for you with retirement, it's really not going to be something that you're going to really participate in as much as you may think. They've said, even in terms of looking at different actuaries that look at this type of thing, that they're underestimating every year. This gives you, in the 80s, they underestimated by 27 billion. In the 90s, they underestimated by 200 billion. And even in the 2000s, they're underestimating by $1 trillion in terms of what's going to be available. And then I'm sure everybody knows that with this pandemic, that's something that's going to make a bigger change in everything, because this money that we've been given, is going to have to come from somewhere, and it's being taken out of different places. And, between taxes and other things, we're going to end up having to pay this money back. And the average person that's going to pay it back is going to be you and me. So Social Security really is not a factor for most of us in terms of us only relying on this being what we're going to be able to use to retire ourselves. And in addition to that, it was never considered to be a retirement, but a supplement to our retirement. And some people don't understand that. I think my sister was one of those persons, because she now is living on her Social Security and she's getting $500. Now, for most people, that would be very little, but for her, because she was living on nothing before, she's doing very well, because she has a $200 apartment, and then she has $500 to live on. And so in terms of a pension, most people do not have a pension anymore. If you have one, be very, very thankful that you do. I told you about my situation. I didn't understand what was going on with my pension. And so I just kind of abused it, so to speak. But when you look at the fact that, most people are not in a situation where they're having the pension anymore. Unions aren't as prevalent, and if they are, they're not being able to get people into access to unions that are pensions as like they used to be. If you're not a public servant, then most people are not getting the type that having a pension, and then in your public servant, you're not getting Social Security. If you work for a small company, then obviously most small companies, they're not providing pensions. I work for a private company that's not small, and they're not providing pensions. And then even looking at this number 4 is going to be something that I'm very, very afraid of for our youth, because what do they do now? And they job hop. And so if you're job hopping, not only are you not going to have a lot in your pension, but you're not even going to have anything long-term in the savings of a 401 to be able to rely on. And so if they're not doing something for themselves outside of what they're doing at their work, they're going to be in a situation themselves down the line. And then we have a lot of people who are working part-time, and most times they're not, providing pensions for that. And a lot of these companies are purposely doing that, so they don't have to provide the pensions and benefits. And there's certain areas that you live in that pensions aren't, there anymore. And then lastly, you may have been involved in an industry where being self-employed, food service, hospitality, these are areas where they don't even offer a pension. So pensions nowadays are not something that most people can depend upon either. And so in most cases, it talks about, the fact that, even with savings, how many of us, have the savings that we should have, to be able to do the things that we need to do? How many of us are saving properly for our retirement? How many of us really, when we look at this pandemic, can say that we weren't just more than a paycheck away from going to the food bank? Because a lot of people ended up in the food bank because that unemployment didn't start right away, and people had to feed their families, and they did not have the wherewithal, to do it. And so that's something that we really have to think about, because if we're not, going to get Social Security in terms of enough to be able to take care of what we have, and we're not going to, most of us don't have a pension any longer, the savings is probably compromised based on a lot of things that have happened just even recently. Then how are we going to be able to be in that position to retire? And so there are also, when we look at the picture, there's 3 what we call financial landmarks that also are something that we have to be concerned with. This is something that more people are concerned with now than they probably had been before, because it's such a major thing in the news, from talking about the different ports on the East Coast and the West Coast, where the ships are stuck and we can't get the goods in, and we can't get to the different goods that we need, and so they're charging us more for those that we can get. Shelves being empty, and then everybody doing all these different tactics to try and get something before the other person can get it, so that they can have something, because they know that it's a shortage of supplies. And so, inflation, used to be 3.2%. And California, thank California for always being higher than everybody. And we have a 4%, but now it's 5% nationwide. And they're talking about even more. And so when you put, and I'm sure, just going to the store, you can see the difference. What you used to pay $100 for is definitely not the same as what you pay $100 for now. And so that makes a big difference. And people have got to be aware of, allow you to keep up with inflation. If your money is under your mattress, if it's in just a bank account, or if it's somewhere where you're not getting any type of interest on it, how are you able to keep up with inflation? Because a lot of times people, because it's not something that you can see per se, it's not a tangible thing, but it is tangible when you look at going to the store, then people think, okay, well, I'm okay as long as I save money. But it's where you save your money that's really the most important factor that people have to worry about. And that's part of that the whole financial education. Understanding this particular concept, power of compound interest. Where do you save? Are you utilizing the rule of 72? And the rule of 72 being, for those of you that may not have ever heard about it, it's the amount of interest that you're getting where you're saving your money divided by the number 72. And that determines how many years it's going to take your money to double. And in most cases, we've been able to figure out how to get the 4 to the 6%. That's the 401k, usually the 4%, and the 6% is usually our pension. And this is not, a yearly, it's an average over 10 to 20 years. And so even if your retirement gets so much, on an annual basis, because of the different losses and different things, we have to average it out. And so we're looking at 4 to 6%. And that's a lot better than the bank, because you're only getting less than 1% there. But when you look at a person of the same age at 34, and they have $10,000 saved in these different types of vehicles, a person that's getting 4%, their money is going to double every 18 years. And so at 52, the money is going to double. And if we looked at retirement, if this is all they had, then, at 70, which is the age that a lot of people may be looking at retirement now, they would have 40,000. But look at just what 2% more will provide for you. It'll give you less time for your money to double, but it'll also give you double the amount at the same age if you looked at for retirement. And so just knowing how to get this, the difference between 4% and 2% makes a big difference. But then look at what the wealthy know about. They look at investments of 8, 10% and more. And it's a big, big difference. It's the same amount of money, It's just knowing how to get that additional 2% or, the difference of what's going on with what we get and versus what a lot of other people get. And so you look at the amount of years, we've cut the years down in half, 8% versus, 9 years versus 18 years. And when you look at the age of 70, this person has 4 times more. And then just 2% more to 10%, they have 8 times more. And so this makes a big, big difference in the wealth gap, as we talked about, because if everything that we do, unfortunately, we're at a disadvantage, then we've got to start participating in the different vehicles that we can utilize that are going to give us the advantage. We can't keep doing less or just barely the same amount and think that we're going to be able to even the playing field in regards to our wealth. And then taxes. Taxes is that other landmine that we know is a major problem. You earn it, they tax it. You spend it, they tax it. You save it, tax it, and you die, and you're taxed. And it's something that we're going to even have to deal with more of because of all this happened with this money that they printed up. And so we just need to prepare that. Unfortunately, we're going to, have to be able to figure out how can we offset at least the taxes. And so we look at where do you want your money to be when you're in terms of your taxes. We have categories that we talk about registering people in. It's called your tax now, your tax later, and your tax never. And your tax now, this is where you generally will have most of your liquid assets where you paying your income taxes on them. You actually double pay. You pay when you receive the money and you pay when your money grows here. But it's money that you have easily accessible in your bank, your CDs, and things of that nature. Your tax later is where we're deferring our money, where we're putting our 401s, our pensions, our SEP IRAs, all of the different vehicles that are deferred and before we end up getting our money. And in this situation, this is probably where most of us have our money. And the challenge with that is most of us don't really understand that this tax later category is not necessarily the best category to have unless there are certain situations that happen. Because when you look at the overall picture of a person who saves their money and they're saving it to pay taxes on it later. So right now, if we were to pay taxes on, let's say, $10,000, and those taxes were at 30%, say our state and our federal were 30%. We know that on that $10,000, we would pay $3,000. But let that money grow, and we stay in partnership with the government, till 59.5, which is the time before we can the time at which we'll be able to take our money out without any penalty. And now that we've got to be 60 or over, and we want to go ahead and use that money now, let's say it's at 100,000. So already you can see that the money now is, if you take out 30% from 100,000, that's 30,000. Now, had we taken the money out and not have to worry about taxes anymore at 10,000, then we would be okay. That would be just $3,000. But now we have 30,000. But what did we just finish talking about? The fact that taxes are probably going to go up. And so in most cases, if now taxes are go up from 30 and they go up to 40, possibly go up to 50, then we're going to be paying a lot more taxes on that money. And when we actually do sometimes a calculator and we show people that when you look at the taxes that you pay, you really don't have very much more money than you would have had you just put that money in a regular bank savings account, because of the amount of money that comes out that we don't account for. And many people are not educated on this. I talk to people all the time that think that when they see the numbers they see in their retirement, that that's all their money. And it's not, and it's a rude awakening, because if you plan for a retirement on 500,000 and that retirement is reduced, to 300,000, then that's a big difference in your lifestyle and what you're going to be able to do, and the fact that some people end up having to go back to work. But what we try to do is show people ways that they can put their money into vehicles more so where they don't have to worry about the paying the taxes later, and they pay the taxes up front. And so they already kind of can calculate better what they're going to have in the future. And in that, we have those type of vehicles like the Roth, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with the Roth 401s and the Roth IRAs. And those are the type of vehicles that you can put, they're limited, but you can put a certain amount of money in them, depending upon what your income is. Usually if you're over 100,000, you may not be able to, as a single person, to put money into this vehicle, but you can use it if you qualify and you're able to put, usually I think it's between 5,500 to 6,000 an annual basis on a single person, and then a little bit more if you're married. And so it gives you some ability to save money without having to continue to deal with the tax issue. And then there's another vehicle that most people, I think, are really sleeping on, and that is cash value life insurance. And cash value life insurance, most people don't think about life insurance for anything except for, death. I know that in my family, we never talked about life insurance because it was just about the fact that somebody was going to die. And I guess it's like almost, if you talk about it, it's like almost like you're bringing somebody's death about. I don't know. But it was the biggest mistake because wealthy people, this is what they utilize quite a bit. And it's a tax-free benefit where when you grow money in a life insurance product, you don't have to pay taxes on that money. And so, the people like the Warren Buffetts and even the past president that we had and all the different people who were making these nice sums of money, they understand this. They understand how to be able to transfer wealth and not have to worry about their heirs having to deal with all of the estate taxes and all the different things that they have to deal with, because they're able to utilize this for wealth transfer as well. And there's other benefits as well that come along with this, because there's benefits where they can even be able to protect the ability of that person to make money in the event that there's something that happens health-wise. And that's called living benefits. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with the living benefits, but that's another thing that people really need to know about, because these are things that obviously I didn't make up. I didn't know anything about it until the last 5 years, but they've been around for the last 10 or 15 years. And the question is, if most of us, when we have financial advisors and people that we use to help advise us on what to do, why is it that they're not sharing this type of information? Because it's information that would help us not only to be able to grow our money better, but also to be able to protect our money and to save our money. And these are all things that I know when I had my financial advisor, he never talked about. In fact, when he talked about insurance, I had to have insurance because I had a business, a franchise. That was another thing that I did. That was a franchise. And I had a loan for the city of Los Angeles. And they made me insure myself in case something happened, we're going to get their money. And he advised me to put my money into a term insurance policy. And from that point forward, that's all I ever used. And I didn't know anything about permanent insurance or cash value life insurance. I didn't even think it made a difference. And then later on, as I got older, that's when I found out. And then it cost me more to be able to utilize that type of vehicle. And I was really mad because he could have let me know. Now, I don't know if he didn't know, which is even worse because I depended upon him for all my financial information, or if he just didn't feel it was important. But either way, it cost me. And I'm sure, some of other people maybe on this presentation may also have that situation. And so when you look at where you're putting your money, you want to look at, this order, getting free money first, getting tax-free money second, getting tax-deferred money later, the third, and then last, taxable money. Because if you take advantage, obviously, of money that you don't have to pay for, then obviously, it's free money. So you don't have to worry about it. If you're not to pay taxes on the money, then that's obviously something that you can keep more of your money. And then, later on, with the tax deferred, there is a situation where, with 401s, if you're in a situation where you can get what they call where they do the matching on these monies. The matching then will offset a lot of times the taxes that you have to pay, but you shouldn't put more into that particular product than it matches. And a lot of times people will do that. They think they're doing something great. And then down the line, they realize that all that money got taxed and they really didn't benefit from it. And they could have done much better had they put it in another type of vehicle. And obviously, this money that's taxable, so that we can't avoid paying taxes on everything, but we always want to pay as little as possible. And that's pretty much what I just said. And so lastly, when we talk about the landmines, we talk about risk. And, we can all see how this is going where, with the stock market, this is something that, all of us have to worry about. And unfortunately, all of us have our money in some form of a vehicle that's probably in the stock market. If you have your money in a 401, a pension, a mutual fund, and obviously in stocks themselves, your money is at risk. And when you look at that, you have to think about the fact that, if your money and all your money is in a situation of risk, and that was something that I didn't understand because everything I always did was always at risk. Every business I got involved in, everything that real estate, all of it was at risk. And so when things happened, it always wiped me out, and so I got wiped out to the point of almost, having nothing. And I was fortunate enough to be able to get this information that's helped me to come back, and have hope again. But this gives you an understanding of an opportunity where you don't have to worry about risk all the time. And people are not taught about this information. And it's unfortunate because it's been around as well. And it's called the index concept. And the index concept basically is a situation where you can participate in the gains of the stock market, but not the risk. And when you look at the fact that, this orange line represents the stock market, the S&P 500, and the various times when the market has gone down during the dot-com bust and gone back up. And then, you go over here and it went back up, way up to the real estate market. And then it went back down quite a bit, with that 2008 Great Recession. We can look at the stock market is constantly going up and down. It always cycles that way. But if you were in a situation where you had your money in an index, you would have a floor of 0, meaning that your money can never go past 0. And then you would have a cap based on whatever fund that you had that of 13 to 16% and sometimes higher. And so they're able, because of the fact that this particular concept allows you to participate in only some of the gains, the different companies that offer it are able to offset any time that the market goes down, and they don't give you, you don't get the money above the 13 to 16%. So when the money that you have in there, you say 100,000, you're going to always have this 100,000. It's never going to go lower. But you see these different dots or squares, that represents when the money in this particular account goes up. I mean, it resets each year. So wherever it was reset based on the market. And if the market goes up, it's going to go up from where it last reset. So you'll never go under 100,000. But if it goes back down, then it's going to reset again, and it's going to flatten out to 0. And so you can see it's kind of a stair step versus the stock market, which is going down in a V constantly. And so because of this type of concept, people are able to actually participate in getting gains that they would never get if they had put their money in a regular a 401 account or something of that nature, and not have to worry about losing their money and be able to continue, get growth on their money. And with this type of situation, basically, it's an opportunity for people to look at information that most times, unfortunately, we didn't know. And so because we didn't know, we made mistakes. You know, it was something that, you know, I thought I was always reading and going to seminars and getting the best information. But unfortunately, I didn't always have the information that I needed to avoid making mistakes. And I didn't have anybody to teach me this information as well. And I apologize for this mistake in the spelling. I want people to realize that I'm not literate per se, but this is from a person that a Black financial advisor in the Insider, and it was just not too recent that she did this, and she had an article, and the article basically was saying that I want Black women to know about building. I'm sorry, I did this too quickly. Building generational wealth and taking control of your money, and what she was saying is Black women need to be financially confident. You know we can handle any financial situation that comes our way. You know, and we can't afford to live feeling guilty and condemned by past mistakes. And I think that happens, you know, quite a bit, unfortunately, you know, where, you know, people like myself, because I know where I was before I learned this information, I just thought I'd just give up. You know, I had tried and tried and tried, and I was getting older and I couldn't afford, and I was just beat down. I didn't feel that there was anything else that I can do. But one of the things that I was reading not too long ago, and the person said that we are actually all CEOs. We're CEOs of our own family, you know? And so if we are taking care of our families on a daily basis in our finances and so on and so forth, you know, it's taken a lot to get there. Even if we made mistakes, it's taken a lot. And so we can learn to make better decisions and not, you know, not feel that we have to give up. You know, and one of the things, you know, we have to start doing is write down what our short-term and long-term goals are and why. You know, because that's very, very important, because if you know why you're doing what you're doing, you know, and you establish certain goals and you know why, then it makes it more important for you to achieve. You know, one of the examples they gave is that person who wants to have to buy a home, and they want to buy the home because they want to be able to leave that home to their family. And so that's a long-term goal, but the things in between that they're going to be doing throughout their years until they get that home, it's going to lead them to that, are going to help them. And if they keep that long-term goal in mind of why it's important for them, because they want their children to be able to have this home, to be able and leave that legacy, then the things that they do, they're going to prioritize, and they're going to make sure that they do them in a way that's going to allow them to get there, versus just spending your money and not really having any real plan, you know, in mind of how to accomplish that. And then, you know, the fact that women have historically been left out of financial planning and estate planning because it's been a male-dominated industry. You know, we are capable of advocating for ourselves, but the majority of us, when we feel like we don't understand, you know, money and finance, because it's complex, you know, and it can be. You know, when I first started hearing this information, it was just a lot of numbers, a lot of information, a lot of stuff that I was just like, I don't know, you know. But having taken the time to learn and hear it over and over again and participate and help people with the information and do more research and what have you, you know, I find that really it's very, very simple, but it is complicated in regards to, you know, understanding the simplicity of it, so to speak, if that makes any sense. And then the fact that women have, you know, a lack of familiarity with financial products, have a lack of familiarity with financial products and industry jargon. And that's something I think that we allow other people to tell us what to do because we don't take the time to learn ourselves. You know, and it's not rocket science. You know, there are many, many resources available that will help you get, you know, educated, you know, including a lot of even apps and things that are available now that people can utilize. And so, you know, in closing, in terms of this aspect of the presentation, and being glad to answer and talk to you or further in terms of discussion and questions. You know, what we do is provide a basic financial education, and in some instances, even a more advanced education. We listen to, you know, what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and we help you create a custom plan for your family based on what it is that you tell us. And this is my information. I will also, Anthony, can you type in the chat, both of our information and emails. You can use the Urban Financial Literacy Gmail for me. And then the last thing that I want to encourage everyone, because this is so important, is that you take the time, if I can get to the slide, and you do what we call a personal financial checkup. And a personal financial checkup is what helped me see exactly where the issues were with my finances and what I needed to do. And basically, it helps you look at what your goals are, where you're trying to go, and how you're going to get there. What you're doing right now, and if what you're doing right now is going to allow you to be able to accomplish your goals. And that's something that, many times we can look at our finances, we can look at our budget, we can look at things on our eyes, but when you look at it through the eyes of someone else and they help you to see exactly what's going on, and they actually make you pin down the money. I mean, I've sat down with CPAs, which I thought would have had all of them numbers together and really been really clear, and they did not know where $4,000 of their money was going. And that's a big chunk of money. Eventually we were able to help them find it, but that's something that should not have been an issue, especially for someone who deals with money and deals with other people's money. But it doesn't make a difference. If you don't take the time to pay attention, this type of information slips by you, and before you know it, you're spending money in ways that you didn't plan, and you're setting up habits that are preventing you from accomplishing the goals that you have. And a lot of times, it's not a matter of the fact that you don't have what you need to accomplish what you need to what you're trying to accomplish. It's that you're just not using that the resources in the right way. And so that's all that I have to share in regards to this. I hope that it was information that was beneficial, and that there was something within that information that is helpful to you. Would love to talk to anyone that is interested in learning more about how we work with people and what we do to help people. And also, this was actually an opportunity for me that allowed me to be able to change my life from where I thought I had no future or no hope, to a situation where I was able to to really change it around. And now this job that I really don't want to be part of and was not providing me all that I needed, but just provided me the bare minimum, I'm able to leave and focus on helping people full time. And that's the other thing. It's an industry that people don't understand is very, very well compensated. And no matter what the economy is, it's beneficial and useful for everyone. And so it's something that has thrived. And so in any event, that's all I'll say of it. Helen, to take it away from now. Thank you for letting me share.
Oh, thank you. This has been most informative. Before you close out of your PowerPoint, there were a few people who wanted more clarification around the 72 rule. So can you put that back up and just,
I should.
and those of you who have questions, I know Pat Rivera was one, and Principal Michelle, will you, when she opens it up, can you please just pose to her what are the specific questions that you had around that slide? But no, this was great information. I mean, I'm looking at the feedback in the chats and people are very pleased. And they're still with us, despite it being football Sunday. So
I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I really feel good that I was able to
yes.
to keep them. I just had it in.
Yeah, it was there. So Pat, anybody who has a question on that, just feel free to unmute yourself and ask Wanda what you need more clarification on. Pat, are you still with us?
Yeah, I am right here. I had a question about the index fund, and I wanted to know if Wanda offers one or what's her, it sounded great. I was interested in the index fund.
Oh,
well, yes, the companies that we work with do offer the index of funds. It's another fund, actually. It's a concept, because there is an index fund, and so that's a different index fund is actually in side of the stock market, and so that's not to get confused. this is something that mirrors what goes on in the stock market. And so the money is totally safe. And that's why I'm very comfortable in offering it back, because it's something where a person will not lose their money. But we work with over 40 different companies, and all of the companies, for the most part, offer this type of financial vehicle. And so what we do is when we talk to someone on a personal basis, then what we do is figure out what their goals are that they're trying to achieve and what their situation is, so that we can determine which company has the best product that's going to allow them to achieve those goals utilizing all these concepts.
Okay, so this would mean that will need to speak separately at another time, call you and kind of discuss where I am and what you can offer. Yes?
Yes, because this information, is general. It's just like, I couldn't possibly figure out what each person
Sure.
would need, whatever. But and everything that we do, I didn't preface that part. Everything we do when we offer is free, and that was something that I know you heard me say free before, but I may not have said it in terms of anything that we're talking about right now. And anytime you sit down with myself or Anthony or any of the persons that work with me, it's all free. That's the good thing about it, and there's no obligation, for the information.
All right.
So that's how I was able to do it, because I had no money, and so when they said free, I was just like, "Thank you, Jesus, I can do this."
All right, so we'll be talking. I will be calling you.
All right, thank you so much.
I'm sorry, so Wanda,
Yes,
so the index concept, is that with insurance companies?
yes.
Okay.
There are different insurance companies that offer the index concept. They created the concept to keep up with what was going on with the different companies that offered the different stocks in the different situations where people were able to gain a lot of interest on their money because they were in the stock market, but they wanted to create something that was different and that was safe. And so in general, historically, when you put a person's account that has a account within the stock market, and whether it be the Dow Jones, the S&P, and there's just a variety of other ones, it will generally outpace that particular account if you average it over a 10 to 20 year period of time. And so a person can literally feel safe and comfortable putting their money in this type of vehicle, and at the same time get the same benefits of being involved in the stock market.
Thank you.
That answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. I have another one. I was kind of interested as to why the widows changed their financial planners. Is that because they got new solicitations because they were recently widows and people assumed that they didn't know anything, so they ended up changing their planners?
I believe most women, when they change it because they're not comfortable, they're not involved. They're not involved usually with that planner. And a lot of times the planners, they are, white males or they're males, and they don't generally talk to women the same way as they talk to me. It's just like going to, at least out here, a mechanic or what have you, you go pull up there as a woman and you ask certain questions, they're going to talk to you one way. You pull up there as a male, they're going to talk to you a whole different way. And although time has progressed, there's a lot of things that happen progress. And so I think women don't feel comfortable in a lot of the cases, and they weren't involved directly with what was going on, because generally, they have when they don't really involved in what's going on. I talk to people now who tell me in a minute, my wife doesn't handle any of the finances. She's not involved.
Let me ask, can we stop sharing? I thought there were specific questions for 72. Principal Michelle, you're good?
No, I'm here. I'm about to jump back in.
Sorry.
Thank you. So I guess, hey, sister, first of all, I'm from Louisiana too. So when I heard Honore, I'm like, you must have folks in Louisiana.
Definitely 7th Ward, Dirt Town, all that.
Get out of town. Get out of town. My people are from Lafayette and from Rain, Louisiana.
All right.
Mm-hmm. So I'm a words person. So numbers, you lost me at maybe slide number 3. And I hate to say it like that, but once I saw the slide, of course I can chop it up and figure it out. But how do you get to the 6% and the 8% where your money doubles in 7 years versus, the 4 and 6%?
Well, with the 4% and 6%, that's just, that's basically was talking about what people have going on in their 401 and their pensions. The 401, the pensions are generally, when you average it out, that's what a person is generally going to be getting on a 10 to 20 year average. When you talk about the products that deal with the 8 to 10%, I was basically referring to products that we are able to show people, and I apologize. Normally, I do refer to that as products that we are able to help people with. But yes, the companies that we deal with, that is historically what they're able to do. Because it is an industry that does deal with flux, and it's not it's nothing I can say tomorrow what's going to exactly be. What we do is base it on historicals, and so historical over the last 20 years, that's what we've been able to show people.
Okay, and is that through the insurance policies that you referenced earlier?
And through the insurance products, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So we're going to open it up for questions. I'm going to lead in with a few things that kind of popped up for me. You touched on that this being, I thought coming into this conversation, the things that people were probably going to be most interested in were retirement and end of life decisions. So I don't think, like how many people have a will? Do people have a living will? Do you have a someone who's your medical, I forget what the word, what's the person who makes the medical decisions for you? Particularly
attorney. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Advanced directive.
Your guardian. It's called your proxy. Proxy.
Your guardian only if you don't have a power of attorney. You
So
want a
here-
power of attorney though.
Everybody on this call should have something in place that says in the event that I am incapacitated in some kind of way, this is the person who can, these are my wishes. So that's in your living will, right, Wanda? That's spelled out in your living will. And it also indicates, I guess, who that person would be.
It's called your health proxy.
Yes.
Yeah, I know about it. I'm not directly, that's not directly my area of expertise, but having gone through that recently, where generally the person will make their own health directive up. And so basically, if you, in the best or the best situation scenario, you will go ahead and put something together that you want people to follow. And so all they have to do basically is follow those directives. And it's a health directive, advanced health directive that is put in place. And as the person was saying, it's either a health proxy or
They'll have lots of
And that falls under the category, if I may, of trusted estates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think end of life decisions are things that we need to be thinking about, particularly when we're living in a day of COVID. People are unexpectedly dying. So, even though you feel healthy today, how many of us have heard about somebody who just died? And how many people, and here's another thing that I've come across that I want to share. I've had at least 2 friends die, both of whom I know had wills in place, but had not told anybody where the wills were. One family, I am sure there was a good sister and a bad sister. I think the bad sister got to the house before the good sister and stole the will. And that was that. Now, as it turns, and the other thing we all need to understand is, like, depending upon what state you're in, without a will, there's an order of succession. So if you have parents, if you're married, of course, it'll go to your spouse and then to your children, but every state is different. So you need to think about who is this person that's going to be making decisions about me, my medical condition, my financial conditions. So I know, Wanda alluded to the fact that we as Black people don't want to talk about life insurance and stuff, and we don't want to tell people what we have, but you got to tell somebody. And the fact that you might know that, so-and-so was her last lawyer, is that the last will? Does the lawyer even have a copy of the will? So I know we don't, these are sensitive conversations, but we have to move ourselves to have them. And so that was one of the big things that came to mind that I definitely wanted to share with people. The other thing, speaking as an attorney, we also need, the older we get, you need to be moving stuff out of your name, because in every state it's a different amount of years. But God forbid you make me you turn all your stuff over to my name, and then tomorrow you get hit by a car and you need long-term care. It doesn't matter. They're still going to say, which is ridiculous. Is anybody on here? Is any attorneys on here who can explain why that is? Why there's this lapse? There's 3 years or 5 years. There has to be a period of time that has elapsed from the time that you moved all your stuff out, because otherwise everything that you own is going to end up going to the nursing home, to the state to take care of you or what have you. But if you put it in your children's name or somebody else's name, then it's protected and you can get the care that you need and not have to worry about losing your
Helen, if I can, yeah, I mean, Helen, in New Jersey, or not New Jersey, I don't know, there's other states, it is 5 years if you go in a nursing home. Yeah, so you really, and you don't know when you're going to get sick. So somebody, and who's willing to put their property out of their name at 60? A lot of people aren't willing to do that. What you can do is at least on half of your property, so at least the government won't get all of it if you're not willing to do that. I've seen people, and I've done that for people where you put it on half.
And if I may,
But you have somebody that you trust.
What's the
that can be messy.
Pat, excuse
and
me.
it changes. It's alive and fluid information. But the reason why I said, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. The reason why I mentioned trust in estates, because that handles what you own and control when you're not here as well, when you're
Absolutely.
not even in the room. And the point of a trust in estates good attorney, and one of my sons is, I was in trust in the state for many years as a paralegal, and I even prepared for law school. GW is in our background too, Miss Honore. And so with respect to overall anything, even if you want to leave someone $5, you don't want the state and probate to be involved in that. And you might not even want a family member. And particularly if you have more than one child, you want a family member who is not only trustworthy with integrity, but has the know-how and the inclination to do the right thing. And that's a hard call, because they can outvote you. The reason why I mentioned trust in the states is because it's like the board of directors. Since we said we're CIOs, CEOs, and CFOs of our respective families and situations, we want to be able to own nothing and control everything. And that's the key word. Because a lot of times, particularly when it comes to people of color, we want our names on everything, but that defeats the purpose. That's why other people are able to do generational wealth. They do it because they do not put things in their names, but they get the credit for it. It never goes into probate because it's private. So you can transfer funds. And life insurance is not only for death. If you get the right annuity, it gives you income all along. So there are so many caveats to trust in estates that I really would like you to look at. And then thank you so much for your presentation. I've been blessed, and I'm going to make it short, that people think I'm a white male. They think I'm a white male because my first job after college was Merrill Lynch. And I was on that floor with me being as brown as the mahogany on the walls. And so you learn a lot how that 1% operates.
True.
And so when people talk about other people's money, they're speaking in terms of us. You have to truly look out for your self-interest. Don't count on anyone. And it's a live and fluid situation. When they don't live up to the bill, then it's time for them to take their leave. You are the chairman, the CFO, the CEO, CIO, and anything else, teacher, anything you had to be and done it well, you'll see the fruit of your labor.
Yeah,
And it's never defined by someone else.
okay.
You have to know what success is to you. And I just want to leave you with that. And anyone into want to diversify reasonably, I offer gold and silver, accessible to all, innovative to all. And I know what I'm speaking of. So I
So
bid
think
you adieu. I'm in the background.
there's some interest in yours, so you might want to leave your information in the chats. Thank you so much, Ms.
Yes,
Taylor.
I will put the email, but I'm going to connect with you all individually as well.
Thank you, Ms.
Trustee,
Taylor.
Ladies,
thank
ladies,
you.
can I add on? Because I'm calling in from a telephone. Thank you so much for holding this workshop or seminar for us. Thank you. I believe it was Wanda that put this together. Thank you so much. I am using the telephone and I don't have access to get any emails. And the person who spoke about the health proxy, I would like to have her email address. And then the attorney who just spoke regarding trust, estate trust, etc. Can we have email for those of us who's on the telephone and can't see the chat line?
So I'm hoping that somehow you got information from this and you got my email address at least.
Yes.
So
Well, I'm taking notes, but I didn't get your email address.
So you have my email address from the invitation. So if you reach out to me, I will get the information to you that you desire. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you so
We
much.
have a hands up. Thank you, Pat. And thank you, Ms. Taylor. I turned off your video by accident. I'm sorry. So please turn it back on.
One of the things,
Can I ask you, can I say one thing that just really quickly?
Well,
Also,
we have a hand up, so I'm trying to give respect to people who have their hands up. So that would be Miss Mack. Miss Mack, did you want to?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you so much. I wanted to just say that I was invited to attend, and I'm amazed about what I learned, because this is something that I do, that I find that I'm struggling. I'm a licensed agent, and me and my husband are in business together, and we give free overviews, and we try to talk to people about being financially educated. And all those concepts that you talked about, the rule of 72, the index, tax now, tax later, tax never, we teach all that, but I just find it's really hard to get into the community to educate our families, because we are the families that's left behind. We are. And like Ms. Taylor talked about the living trust, it's very important that we have that, because with the living trust, that's where you put all your assets, and that's where you give direction. That's where that will goes that can't get lost. And it's important that we have it. Life insurance, being properly protected. You know, so many of us frown upon that. It's like, oh, I don't need life insurance, but every day you go on Facebook, if any of you all on Facebook, you see somebody put up a GoFundMe account. But when you want to educate it, to me, it's like they don't want the information. They tell me, I'm good. I'm financially good. So, you know, I think this is great that you did this forum and you have a lot of people on. And anytime that we can be educated about our money and how to be prepared for retirement, it's awesome, because we do things that we think we're doing it correctly. And I can speak for myself. Before I was educated, before someone sat across my kitchen table and educated me and my husband, I had we had life insurance, we had our pensions. But when I lost my job in 2008, I lost my income and I started working for the government, making $30,000 less, but we still are homeowners. We still had children in private school and things like that. So what do you do when you don't have an emergency fund? When you don't have that money, you go into your retirement. That's what most people do. They go into their 401k, their 403bs, not only to travel, to do all kinds of things, but now that I know better, so I can do better, because that took away money that we was saving that we have to put in. So I commend you. And I just want to see how maybe we can connect to see how we can just let everyone, our people just know everywhere about, this information.
And that's the mission that, I have with the Urban Financial Literacy of making sure that everybody knows this information and it gets passed on, and it's through, word of mouth and so on, because again, I was just listening to another forum that was hosted and they were saying how this needs to be a common conversation, a conversation that we have, that we don't, make just a exception and that we don't hide from, because a lot of times we think that talking about money is something that we shouldn't do, and other cultures are talking about it all the time. And even more importantly, we need to have a conversation with our children, because they're the ones that people are planning to leave the money and assets to, and they have no clue. And then when they get it, they don't leave it. And so there is no generational transfer, because it goes to that one generation and it's done. And so we have got to have a conversation and be willing to talk to each other, share and pass it on, because eventually as it becomes more common, then people will pay more attention. And sometimes you don't reach people right away, but if you hear it enough times, it will make a difference.
Yeah, thank you. I'm
Miss
sure you
Mack.
guys next. Wait,
Yes.
Diane, we got order here. We got hands
Oh,
up.
sorry.
So
Okay.
thank you, Miss Mack, and I'm sure that you two will connect. So come again. Okay, the next hand I see, we're going to go in this order. I see Michelle Burgess, Jocelyn White, Glenda Smithson, and then Shakira and Diane. Then if you want to speak, you're next. Okay, so Michelle, go ahead. Michelle Burgess. Okay, I don't know, maybe she's gone. Jocelyn, go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, and I want to thank Ms. Honore for that fantastic presentation. It was very informative. Thank you so much. My question is, you mentioned about 8% and 10% investments. Where are they? Because when you go to the bank, you might as well put your money under the mattress because the interest rate is so low.
Well, those are in the different types of financial institutions that we work with. And so depending upon, your situation and what you're trying to accomplish, we match you up with those companies that have those type of vehicles. I wouldn't say that everyone has them, but they were average from 6 to 6 and higher. It just depends. Because of the type of vehicle it is, because they are through insurance companies. There is a qualification, and all of them aren't in life insurance. They are annuities and things of that nature. And so there are certain qualifications that may have to be, but they're worth looking into to see, because if the person does qualify for those types of products, then they are products that, again, will definitely give you more than what you have at the bank. And the best part about it is that you do not have to worry about losing any of your money. And that was something that, was very, very important to me, because I just won't tell you how much money I've lost with all the different things that I've done. And I couldn't lose anything else when I found out about this. I was very leery initially because I needed more information. And as I got the information and I realized that, this is just something that wasn't shared with us, it's unfortunate that because we don't hear this information as much as we hear others, like, we're automatically herded to the 401 when we get to our job and things of that nature. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that, we have to understand more about it. We just do what they tell us to do, and we don't understand. And then when we lose money in some of those vehicles, we don't even know because we don't pay attention.
Usually, is there a minimum that you have to put into the account, and what's the terms vary? Maybe like 2 years or 5 years or whatever.
They do vary, and again, it depends upon the type of vehicle. Some of the vehicles are they're monthly. Some of them, and some of them are a lump sum amount. So it just depends. So with those types of situations, unfortunately, I can't tell you unless I talk to you and see what it is that is going to work for the goals that you have, and and what that would be.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. I hope that I will get a chance to talk to you.
Awesome. Miss Burgess, are you with us? Michelle? I'm thinking she's not here. Okay, Glenda Smithson, are you there?
Hi, yes, I am. I apologize for not being on camera. I am not camera ready this evening. But I did want to come to this important topic and thank you. I met you, Miss Higgy, at Linda Carter's retirement. I know she didn't like to call it retirement, but I met you at her retirement party. So thank you for always having these forums. So anyway, I'm a paralegal for trusts and estates. So please, 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 people, put your things in, do it sooner rather than later. I've seen some messy situations and people waiting to the last minute. If you're going to do your will, if you're going to do your power of attorney, if you're going to do your healthcare directives, do them now, please. So I got that out of the way. Anyway, so I just recently got offered a position in New York for a significant raise. And so I'm wondering, is it a financial advisor a good place to start? Because there's so many things I want to do. I want to buy like a condo so that I could leave that to my son. I'm going to have to pay New York and New Jersey taxes, I think. They offer a 401k at the job. They offer life insurance. And, I just need guidance in all of that. So my main question is a financial advisor a good place to start to kind of figure out all this stuff?
In terms of my opinion, because I have had both a financial advisor, and I would just let everybody know I am not a financial advisor. I am a financial coach. I am licensed with the different financial products that I deal with, but I do not put your money in anything where it's at risk. And so generally when you have an advisor or whatever, they have the different series licenses and things of that nature, because they have to, make sure that they have their due diligence because of the type of vehicles that they have your money. Myself, having had a financial advisor for most of the time when I was initially employed with the school district out here, what I will tell you is that he was helpful, but he didn't help me with everything that I needed in terms of, he more or less helped me for the immediate situation of being able to find vehicles to put my money in. But when they looked at the overall picture of what I needed for myself, that was not what he did for me. And so, and there's a lot of cost involved in that. And so depending upon the amount of money that you have and what you want to do, I would suggest that you talk to someone. One of the things I would say, I don't know everything, and I don't pretend to know everything. But what I do is what we don't know, we definitely let you know that we don't know or that we don't deal with. And we do have people that we can refer, or that we can at least let you know what you need to look for. And because, what we do, there's no cost involved. There are a lot of things that you said that we can help you, give you good information that at the very least would help you make a better decision when you do go to people that you have to pay money to. Because if you don't know what to ask for, unfortunately, you can very well get involved with a person and never get what you really want, and that's been in any case, even in a trust. And so I would also suggest to people, because I'm going through that right now, that if you put a trust together, you get people that really understand your situation. You can't have a large estate and get a person who only deals with just basic trust information. You need to get someone that's suitable to what you have, and do some of your own research. Because I'm currently going through a lot with my godmother's estate, because she had a large estate, but the person that she dealt with was a part-time trust person, to be honest. I mean, she did trust part-time and IRS agent on a full-time basis, you know, and so it wasn't that she didn't know what she needed to know, but she didn't know what she needed to know from my godmother's situation. And as a result, I'm going through a lot because things were not done in a way that would avoid that situation. And so, you know, if I could have done something differently, I definitely would have referred her to, you know, someone who dealt with more complex situations, because hers was. She didn't have children, and so everyone that she left things to were people that weren't her blood relatives. And then you have people who are not agreeing. And so it brings up a lot of issues. And right now we're still going through something almost a year later because one person doesn't want to accept what my godmother did. And it could have been avoided, you know, I was told, just by some simple things, but my godmother's attorney didn't understand, you know, that this was something that she should have had her do. So anyhow, I just say that, you know, everybody doesn't know everything, you know, get as much information as possible, you know, get second opinions, you know, but I would start with people who don't charge you, you know, first, get as much as you can from them, and then go to the persons that are, if you need to, that are going to charge, because at least you might have a better idea of what to offer, and you're not going to spend as probably as much money as you would, you know, my suggestion.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and every state is different, so always keep that in mind. Go ahead, Miss Shakira. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for covering this topic. I'm telling you, this is really like everything we need to know right now. And I'm really looking at this from a macro level. I'm really pleased that Sister Juanda Honore and several other women on here have, you know, offered their services as someone who's kind of understands this kind of financial consulting, because I'm convinced that every single household in the Black community needs to understand this information, no matter if we're making 20,000 or 200,000 a year, because at some point, God willing, we are going to get reparations. And the last thing that I want to see is for each of us to get a check in the household, and the next day, white businesses and white corporations get a payday. I just want us to be able to understand what to do with those funds. And I really hope that everyone will take advantage of somebody on this call who can help them get their papers in order, so that we don't allow the courts to come in and just divide up our wealth after we leave here. Or that we, you know, our money out, runs out before our lives run out. So, you know, I really hope everybody takes advantage of this one way or another. So thank you, Helen, this is great.
Thank you. I just want to say, while there are other people on this call who are offering advice, let's be mindful that our invited guest is Juanda Honore, and I would prefer that that's your first go-to. Of course, it's your decision to make, but she's the one that requested this time, and we want to give her that respect. And anyone else, if you want to reach out to Juanda and try and work with her, that's up to her as well. And I made that announcement, not that Juanda asked me to, but I just want to be sure that we're clear on who is our guest for today. So, Miss Diane, go ahead. What's your question?
Oh, thanks. Well, I have a question, but thank you, and thank you to Ms. Honore. The presentation is excellent. Thank you. But Ms. Mack, we did exchange information because I wanted to ask her about the TSP plan. But Ms. Honore did say that she wasn't, when the woman asked about moving and all, I would just suggest that she talks to her tax accountant, especially when you want, you know, for the tax purposes about housing and moving to another state. Sometimes they can give you some advice along that line too.
Is that it, Ms.
Tax advisor, I'm sorry.
I'm shocked. I thought you always got it. Thank you so much.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to go to Judy. Are you ready?
Yes, I was just going to ask about the financial checkup. You brought up the topic, but you didn't give us, or maybe I missed it, the possibly 2 or 3 things that you're looking at or should be looked at in that checkup?
Well, in the checkup, it's just that, when you go to the doctor, you go for a checkup, or at least in the past, I know lately it seems like they've changed all that, but it used to be almost all day a situation when you went to the doctor and when I was growing up. But you basically are looking at everything. You're looking at start off with what you do, what your goals are, both your current goals and what your future goals. And then looking at, the monies that you bring in and the monies that, are going out. And then looking at, the preparation that you have in place for, your future, how are you saving your money? Have you saved your money? All of that makes a difference, because a lot of times people will think, okay, I'm okay. And then when we kind of show them that you're okay, but you're barely putting things together, and if something happens, you're going to immediately have a major problem. And that's something that I think happened with a lot of people in this pandemic, where they basically were okay as long as everything was going along the way it was, but they couldn't withstand any type of interruption in their income. And so what we try to do is help people look at what their habits are, and then overall, is what they're doing now going to allow them to achieve that goal? And if not, what it is that we can recommend, for them to do to either supplement or to give them a better chance of being successful at achieving their goals. And so it's an overall, picture of what they're doing, and really kind of going into detail with that person and helping them to look at everything in a way that most times they kind of look at it with maybe more of a cursory nature, and they kind of get this or that, and then at the end, we basically, provide them with a recommendation that they can, take advantage of, that will help them to achieve that. And, and again, it's free, it's no obligation. And, if the person does decide to do it, then we match them with, whatever company. And the things that we do, we are actually compensated through the companies that we work with. So basically, we are kind of like they're a live marketing arm for them, but no particular company. So the difference is, with a lot of people are dealing with companies that they have to provide whatever they have, and so they're capped up to that particular, and it may not fit what you need. And that's what I like about what we do, because we don't have to worry about whether or not what we do, fits with any particular company, if it doesn't match for the client that we're working with, because that's the most important part of what we do, is to work to help that client to do the best that they can do.
And you stay involved in the event that the person is, if it doesn't work out, you're still there. You're not, you just don't abandon them. Is that correct?
We're involved on an annual basis from the time that we get involved with the person through the time that they get involved with us. If they put something together with us, then we will check with them on an annual basis, because the companies that we deal with, most of them provide statements. And so we will go over the statements, make sure they understand, because I mean, I won't tell you how many people I sit down with now that don't know what they have. They don't know what type of insurance, what's going on in their 401s or their anything that they have, pretty much, they just don't pay attention. We don't pay enough attention. And some of that is probably because people have told, I've had people tell me, oh, don't worry about it. It's going to go up and down and whatever. And don't worry about it until it's time for you to do something. Well, by that time, it's too late. If you're ready to retire and your money didn't do what you thought it was going to do, then it's too late. I mean, we just talked to a person the other day, and she had over $4,000 a year coming out in fees that she didn't know about. And over the course of a time, those fees plus interest added up to over $100,000. And so, if you don't look at it, you'll never know. You'll still have a lot of money in your account, but how much more money would you have had you paid attention and maybe decided that, oh, I don't really need your services, or I need to change from what you're paying in terms of fees, or whatever the case may be. It's always more important if you pay attention to what you have, and not do like I've had girlfriends who waited 30 years and said, oh, I have never looked at my statement. I don't even know how to get into the account.
No.
I'm horrible. I can't even. True confessions.
So,
Okay, thank you, Diane, for your questions. Miss Northern, you're next. What's your question?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the presentation. So my question is, I know you spoke very briefly about like investing in our home. So I'm a homeowner, and like what information can you provide? Like if we, want to invest in our home and things that we can do, to pass, because I would like to pass my home along to my daughter. Yeah.
And Wanda, I don't know if you can address this, but someone earlier had asked in the chat about reverse mortgages.
Yeah, I'm not a person that can tell you, I know people that have had it, and there's, some people have had a good experience and some people have bad experience. But in fact, I was in the process of helping someone with one, and the person did follow through properly. So, that's something that you really have to be, get the best information on and decide who's the best person to deal with. But in regards to, if you're talking about passing the home on, or I'm not totally sure in terms of the aspect of what you're asking.
So basically, so I have a home, and because I was just sitting here reading the newspaper, and they were just talking about like home improvements, investing equity, along those lines.
Are you saying taking the equity out to do things from your home?
Yeah.
Well, I'll just tell you from a personal standpoint, because I don't deal with that directly in regards to what we do, but from a personal standpoint, I have taken money out of the home, and I have unfortunately made mistakes, because it's twofold. One, equity is not equity really until it's taken out. I mean, that's just, you can say you have $200,000 in equity, but if the market turns, which I've been in a situation where my $200,000 went up and then went negative 200,000, but if you take the money out, you also have to have a proper vehicle to be able to make sure that you can not only pay the money back, but you're also going to grow that money, and it makes sense to have taken it out. And so that is something that, I can, show you ways to be able to make sure that you can do that. But in terms of if you're going to use that, if you're going to use that for home improvements and things of that nature, you really have to look at what's that's going to look like in terms of your, overall your budget. And that's also, the reason why, personal financial analysis would be something that may be helpful, because it kind of helps you look overall at where you are and what that's going to look like, because you really need to make, most people just do things because it's available, and they say, okay, I want to get 2% interest. And then they take all the money out, which is something I did, all the money out. And then I did major improvements to my home, but then it made everything go up. And then I had major issues, that happened because I didn't prepare for it the full way that I really should have. And so you really need to be thinking about the full situation of what's going to happen when you take money out, and why, and is it the best thing for you to do, versus just doing it because maybe you can get cheaper money right now. And in the long run, it ends up being a lot more costly for you, because like I said, I went through that and almost lost my home.
That's risky. Okay, does that answer your question, Miss Northern?
Yes, she did. Thank you.
Okay, and I have a quick aside.
Emma, hold on. We still have hands up. Miss Melinda, somebody needs to mute. I think it's Miss Garrett. I'm gonna mute you. Okay. Melinda, did you have a question for?
Yes, hi.
Hi,
Yes,
how are you?
Good, good to see you. I just joined about 20. I just joined about 25 minutes ago, so excuse me if this was asked and answered, or if you've already presented on this. But what advice do you have for someone who, for me, 35, doesn't have any assets, children, a husband? I don't have anything, so to speak, financially. So what steps should I take to get started from the ground up to sort of build?
Well, first of all, you have to decide on what are your goals. What are your goals in terms of what you're trying to do? Is there something in particular like a home or a business or what have you, or are you just trying to save to make sure that you have money for retirement? Because once you know what your goals are, then we can help you look at your overall picture and what you need to do. I mean, obviously savings is always going to be a part of it, but the important thing again is where are you saving and how, if that's going to help you to really accomplish what you're trying to do. And then there are other things that may be a consideration. And so, again, like I would tell anyone, because this is where I started, the personal financial checkup is the thing that I really encourage everybody to do, because it's really the basis for, what anyone would need to kind of start from, because you have to look at your overall picture to decide, from someone, again, who had a business, and I didn't know what I was doing with that business, to be honest. I didn't know what my end result was. A lot of people who have businesses and they don't know what their exit strategy is. They don't know what it's going to take them. When do they have enough money? Are they trying to sell it? Are they trying to grow it? Are they trying to leave it? What are they trying to do? And I realized that I was one of those. For 5 years, I had this business, and I think about it now, and I caught, literally hell with that business, trying to keep it alive. And when I look back at it, all the money I spent, over 6 figures of money, and I did not really have a clear understanding of what was my end goal. And so even, in your personal situation, you have to figure out, what is it that you're trying to accomplish? What do you want to do? Do you want to have a certain amount of money for this or that, or at what period of time? And so those are the things when we sit down and we go over that personal financial checkup, we really help people to focus on, because if you don't know, then it's like, we can tell you things, but that may not help you get to what you're really, really trying to accomplish.
Yeah, Melinda, I will make sure that you get the information so that you can do a one-on-one with Wanda. I think that would be very helpful for you, because, and I'll also make sure you get the video so you can see that there's information here that was very helpful, because there was a lot of good stuff discussed here. Ms. Burgess, last chance. Are you with us or not? Your hand has been up. I'm going to put it down if you're not responsive. She's had her hand up, and then she came on, and she went away. I'm not sure.
Hi, I'm on the phone. Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, telephone.
I'm also on the computer, but my sound, I don't know what's going on with Zoom. My sound is just crazy. Miss Honore, I retired early 6 years ago, so I'm a retiree. So now my income is not what it used to be when I was working. And I've been through a lot of challenges these last few years. And so I basically am starting all over again. And when I listen to you speak, it sounds to me like you had to start all over again several times. So what type of advice would you give people who have had to start all over again? And I'm not quite 60. I'll be there in a few years. I have a 16-year-old, and I have spoken to her about my where I retired from. Our pension gives your survivor, I can't even think of the word, $15,000. So I was like, in the event that I die, the information is here. You're going to get $15,000. I have a life insurance policy, but you're going to get $15,000. I don't want to talk about it, mommy. I don't want to talk about it. So whenever I try to approach the subject of death with my 16, well, she's 16 now. She was 15 at the time. She is very, she's not willing to talk about the fact that I may die someday. And we all want to die. She'll be okay, but she don't want to talk about it. So can you discuss that as well? And then I also wanted to say, I put it in the chat that as far as the will is concerned, that's public information. So for the person whose sister took the will, they whatever county or district that will was filed in, the person can go down to the court and get a copy of that will. Just for your information.
That's assuming the person filed the will with the court, which most of us don't. It's in a shoebox somewhere.
No,
I don't. This will wasn't. As far as I know, it never materialized. But I told the sister, however it goes, it's 50-50, because they were his only two. They were the next two persons of kin. but still, the bad sister, she won out. I couldn't believe her. She literally, the other one's at the hospital trying to deal with his death, and the bad sister's at the house cleaning out everything from the laptops to the desktops to anything. So that's why we think she probably found the will and took it.
So she's greedy. She's the greedy one.
She had a new Lexus. She took the keys. It was horrible. It was just not good. But anyway.
You know, death brings out the worst in people. I've seen some crazy things after a person died. It's like they become monsters.
Yeah, over 10 cents. God forbid somebody thinks you're going to get 5 cents more than they got. Oh, hell.
Over a penny.
Yeah.
Over a penny. Oh.
Bad. It's really bad. You know, I wanted to ask you, Wanda, somebody had in the question in the chat.
You want me to finish answering?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just letting you guys talk for a minute. Okay, so in terms of the situation, let's go back with your daughter. I would just encourage that maybe you don't approach it from when you die and just talk about, money matters, period, because we need to start talking about money matters. If we talk about money matters, then with our children, then it doesn't become a when we die thing, because they already know what our financial situation is and what's going to happen, what they're, what you're trying to accomplish. And just look at, the fact that you want to have certain things to, them to be able to do certain things, and talk about it from that standpoint. You don't have to say to them that when I die, this is going to happen, or this is going to whatever, or, you can basically just talk to them about, we need to look at, how we're, what your future and what you're going to have available, and understanding certain aspects of money. For the same presentation that I do for adults, even though we have obviously do it a little bit differently, we do for millennials and younger, to help them to understand, because it's very, very important that our young people do understand. I mean, other communities, they are doing this, and so why are we not doing it? Just like, we used to open bank accounts for our kids. They just came back. I think Chase just came back with, and that was something that used to be something that we would do, because it helps teach the children about money and being responsible and that type of thing. And so, I think if you approach it from a different way and just kind of help them understand that, let them know that you want them to understand about how to, manage their finances and, incorporate the information and with that, I think then it doesn't become a situation that you're basically talking about, your mother, that you're not being there. When my mother passed, because she passed when I was in my 20s, unfortunately, she didn't talk to me about the fact that she had a will. I actually happened to stumble across the will. Now she knew she was going to possibly pass because she had cancer. So it wasn't like it was a different situation where she had no idea and we just didn't talk about it, but she knew, unfortunately, it was this opportunity that she could, and that she had already done the will, but she didn't ever say, Wanda, the will is here or there or what have you. I just happened to find it. And that's just not how it should be, because what if I didn't find it,
Right.
So, and then your other question you had was about, can you repeat that real briefly?
Oh, starting over again. And I also forgot to ask you about the different insurance investment type of things too. Yeah, starting over again. It's like I had a lot, and then over the last six years, everything was taken from me illegally, and so I'm starting over again. I'm at the point in my life where I've gone from being super independent to having to rely on other people. And I guess that's a good thing, because I always thought I couldn't, and I found that I could. So I try to find some positive things about it, but I'm starting all over again. And my daughter, she recognizes too, like when you say talk to her about money, it's like we just haven't had much of it lately. So she's been very upset about the fact that she went from being able to have and not want for anything to being told it doesn't fit in the budget right now. You have to wait. We can't do it right now. So she's had to deal with that adjustment.
Yeah. Well, I think
character. It's all good. She'll be happy about it down the road. Sorry, Wanda. Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. So I think what you're saying, like I say, which you already indicate, that I've started over a few times, and the last time I started over, it was definitely a lot different, because I didn't have a job at the time, and I had to find a job to get started starting over. It's something that you have to take it slow and start understanding again, setting the goals. You have to set goals and you have to set up ways for you to, achieve those goals. And so, it's back where I talked to the other young lady about, it's kind of the same thing, starting with the personal financial checkup, that may be a good thing for you as well, because again, I didn't have any hope that I had anything I could do. I didn't know what they were going to tell me. I didn't know, what it was going to look like, but that information of seeing, the picture and then seeing how I could actually achieve it, it wasn't something I was able to do the next day, but it gave me some hope that if I can take certain steps and I continue those steps consistently, that I would be able, and it helped me see what the picture was of what it was I was trying to get to. Because a lot of times when you're, when you're starting over, or whether you're in the midst of it or whatever, if you really still don't know what you're trying to do, then, it's hard for you to put the steps in place. And then once you have the goal in mind, then the steps, can be accomplished. And it's just different ways that you have to look at it, and sometimes it's being creative. There's all kinds of things that people can do. But the biggest thing is not to give up, because I'm a perfect example again of, I probably didn't share half of the things that I went through, but I just was determined not to give up. And I mean, not give up and not just live, right now. I mean, my home, I should not be in my home. Everyone else that was in my situation lost their home. And I am still here. I'm still standing. And not only did I, when I'm in my home, I was able to get my home totally redone. And 2 years ago, I was in the process of losing my home. And so there's a lot of things, and some of it has to be just being resilient, praying, and believing that, if you keep on, if you don't give up, you can find a way out of your situation, and that's what I've just never decided to give. I said, they're gonna have to kick me, or drag me kicking and screaming. And my community, my block is being gentrified. I mean, there's very few Blacks. It's probably 4 of us. It's 4 of us, 2 on each side that are the original folk, and everybody else does not look like us any longer. And I refuse, so I hope that you will take the time to talk to me, and then maybe we can also incorporate talking to your daughter and helping her to, to understand, and helping her too with little things, because sometimes, they have to have that there's some hope that things are going to change, and sometimes it's not going to change right away, but if they can see that they can do small steps to help them get to a change, even if it's not where they want to be, at least show them some progress and may make them feel a little bit better about, the changes that they've had to go through, because it's a lot having to, rebuild. I hope, that's helpful, and I hope I get a chance to speak to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, phone person. Ms. Cruz, are you ready with your question? We're going to take 2 or 3 more. We're going to wrap this up. This is very good, but you all have the information. Anthony, can you drop it in the box one more time for where they can get in touch with you and Wanda? And you'll have time to meet with her one-on-one, which I strongly recommend. Ms. Cruz, what's your question?
Hi, yes, hi everyone. This is so informative, especially for me tonight. My question is, I don't know, I have a special needs daughter, and I haven't really planned anything for her future. And I know I'm not going to be around the rest of her life. So is there any avenues or vehicles? Is any, can anyone give me any advice on reference to how to set things up for her? What's the best avenue? I know you talked about doing your financial, I forgot what it was. My notes are downstairs. Just trying to figure out where you are financially.
Yeah, well, for you, yes, for that part. But in terms of what you're saying, I know that part of that, because I do have people that also have that type of situation where they've had to put together a trust. And within the trust, some of the things that we help people with would be encompassed, within that. But the first thing is going to be, more importantly, that there's something that's going to guide whoever, is going to be there to take care of your daughter, to be able to direct them of how that is to happen. And then the next thing, obviously, is to be able to have the wherewithal to have things in place so that your daughter would be able to be taken care of, through that vehicle. So I think it's a combination. There's some things that, I can definitely offer you in terms of, helping you to be in a position to have the things that you need to leave behind, but you're going to definitely need, a trust or something of that nature that's going to help you to direct the person that may be, or for the person, institution, however she's going to be, taken care of, because you have to make those decisions as to how you want that to be done and put those things in place.
Yes, because my husband and I, we did our will, and we have our oldest son who is going to oversee everything, but I don't want him to have to take care of her. He has his own life, he's married, having his own children. I don't want him to take care of her, but I just want things set up whereas he can just, just flow with it and make sure that she's taken care of.
So I think, like, again, the important thing, if that's already in place, that's great, that you have a family member that he would probably oversee. And so there's things that, you would have to look into in terms of, what vehicle, what facilities or caretakers or whatever are in place that you can utilize. And then you also have to obviously have the means to be able to make sure she's taken care of the right way, and so in terms of helping you to maybe have the means to do so, there's things that we can, help you with. And in terms of certain aspects of protection, that's something that we can help you with. And then the other aspect would be something that may be more of a legal estate planning type of situation that you would need to deal with. So, definitely give us a call. And, I'm sure there's people that if Ms. Higgins can refer you in regards to that part, or we have people too, but since you're on the you're probably on the East Coast.
Yes,
Yeah,
New Jersey.
then it'll probably be better to have someone out in that area or whatever in regards to that part of it. Yes.
So
Thank
somebody
you.
put in the chat for you, Ms. Cruz, they say a living trust for a special needs beneficiary. So you might want to, I don't know who Carol Rogers is, so you might want to, I don't know if she knows something special, but maybe you want to talk to her offline.
Oh, you know what? She is actually one of my sorority sisters, Ms. Carol Rogers, and she does know about that because she has a nephew who is a special needs person. So that's something that and if you reach out to me too, I can maybe connect you, and she can tell you more about what they have been able to put together for the nephew, and then that maybe help you as well.
Great, thank you.
I just want to say I commend you on wanting to take the steps to make sure that your son is not, I don't like the word burden, but that he's not going to be responsible for it, but be able to oversee what's happening with her. So that's very noble of you as a parent. So thank you. Okay, we have Miss Mack. What's your question? Thank you, Miss Cruz. Have a good evening.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to, I didn't get the young lady's name who asked the question, but what I wanted to ask, it's Wanda?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Is do you all give people the opportunity to come aboard and work with you in sharing this information?
We sure do. We sure do.
Okay. Okay.
That's I kind of alluded to it as, to be honest, the main reason why I do what I do is initially was because I didn't have the means to take care of my retirement. I spent it all, and I wasn't going to have too much where I was. And the only way for me to do without working myself to death, which I realized at the age that I was, I could not, is that I had to find a vehicle to allow me to, and I needed to make extra money to be able to save, and right. So I do, initially started off as a way for me to be able to make sure that I had the retirement in place. And because I can do what I do and not work myself to death, and I'm actually helping people, it kind of accomplished, for me, the best of both worlds. But I would just tell you again, it is definitely a very, it's been a financial industry is a very lucrative industry, and it's something that has definitely been a big benefit. And we're always looking for people who want to, to work within this space and helping other people. Everybody, this doesn't work for everybody, and
exactly.
We're glad to talk to anybody that's interested in entertaining it and that may be interested in seeing how it might work for them, because again, there's so many people that really need the help. And, if you're able to, work in this industry, it's such a rewarding thing when you can see that you made some changes and you help people make a difference in their life. And this was always what I was about. It's kind of crazy because everything I've always done has been about helping people improve themselves, economically. And when I left my job, that was my whole thing. People probably thought I was crazy when I did that. And maybe I had to go through the things I went through to be able to, really appreciate what I do now. But, now I'm able to do it and I'm actually able to make good money doing it. And, and I'm very, very, it's something that gives me a lot of joy, and sometimes I probably, it's like I get really passionate about it. Like I talk too much about it, but, I just really, really appreciate what I'm able to do, for people. And I just encourage anybody, not necessarily that you have to work within this industry, but just to look at what's going on with your finances and realize that you can make a change. And no matter how old you are or how young you are, you need to do something to make sure that you really are right, because people will make that comment, oh, I'm fine, I'm set, that's a perfect thing, I'm set, and they're not, and by the time they either acknowledge it or let somebody know, then it just gets so far down the line and then they feel they have nothing that they can do. And, we try and help everyone. We've helped people in their 80s. We have 80-year-olds working with us because they want the opportunity, and and it's not that they don't have without, they are looking at what they can leave behind and how much they can share with other people to help.
Exactly.
And so it's all ages, and so, yes, I would love to talk to you more about that, or anybody else that would know about, will know about how this may benefit them. And then also, I didn't say, but anyone that does end up doing anything of a, any type of business with us, we are definitely going to, we'll do a referral, and and we know that, Helen does a lot, she does stuff that like I used to do all the time. Where I really wasn't compensated, but I just wanted people to have information and do whatever. And so, we definitely take that in consideration, because it would not be fair if you guys were, to do something in terms of, work with us for anything, and then we benefit, and then she did not receive any benefit from having the opportunity to share this information with you. So that is something that, we have promised to do, and I truly, will make that, and that's not to say that you have to for that, but I just want to let you know that that is something that's in my heart to do.
That's much appreciated.
Awesome. Well, thank you for answering that question. And the reason why I asked it so much was for the young lady who was on the phone. Like she says, it's like I'm starting all over. And sometimes people, we can teach and educate you how to save your money and how to put your money in vehicles that's going to support you for retirement and things of that nature. But sometimes that saving is not what's going to set you free. So sometimes you just need someone to offer you the opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Matt.
So, awesome.
We have Michelle. I don't even know if you're really here this time. I've called on you several times, but you keep popping back up with your hand. Are you here, Michelle? Because this is going to be the last question.
I sent her a text. She didn't answer me back, but I have my hand raised.
Okay, go ahead, Michelle.
Okay, I just wanted to tell everybody, if you have a bank account, please go there and put in a POD. It's called a pay on death, so that someone's name is attached to those accounts, and go and put it on every account that you have, so that the state does not get your hard-earned money. Wow. So it's called a POD, and you go to the bank, and all you need is the person's social security number, their address, and their name. And you can put up to 8 people on it. So your statements will come with your name on it, and at least 2 or 3 of the people who you've put their names down on your account, they will have that, but they don't have access to your account because a lot of times people want to have some level of privacy, particularly with their finances. But it will come in the mail, and same way as always, unless of course you have it, paperless, and you're just going to go online, so you won't really see it. But I would definitely have people to do that. My question, Juana, you did such a wonderful, wonderful job. I am so impressed with just being with you ladies today and the information that you have. Okay, I started working a full-time real job when I was about 45. Now I'm 66. So when I came into the job, I saw there were opportunities to get grant money and different things, and I was able to avail myself of them. So coming in and being able to do the 457 plan and the in New York City teachers, so we have the TRS plan. So I was able to benefit on the 50 years and over. So putting in the 5,000 to 6,000 a year, I was able to do all of that. And I did it at the level of sacrifice, because I did it at the extreme. So my check coming home is like about $300 every 2 weeks. I didn't pay my rent for 13 months, and I just was trying to accumulate. And I had 2 children in private school, Hampton University, HBCUs, and I was able to get them through. And I really don't know how I did it, but it was just because of God. But anyway, so now I'm at the point where I may be thinking about retiring. And I went for my consultation, and my question now is, when I turn 70 in 4 to 6 years, whatever that policy is, that you have to take 4% of that money out because it was tax deferred. I'm looking at 4% of something like, $500,000 that's now going to be added to my pension and added to my pension and also to Social Security, because I'll be able to get that. So now I will be really over the limit. So earlier when you were talking about the taxes going up as you get older, and before they were saying, well, just put your money in here, it's tax deferred, and you're going to win. Right now, I don't feel like I'm going to win. I feel like I'm going to lose because I have it. So now I'm trying to think of other vehicles. I did do Vanguard and who's the other one? Hancock. I did both of them, and I was able to garner about $5,000, and then it was $10,000. So I've been gaining money with that vehicle. But now I'm saying to myself, I really just need to be on Medicaid. I really need to not have my Medicare eventually. I need to have no money because I won't be able to even get Meals on Wheels. So I just want to ask you, what should I do now? Because I think I've done well with all of this, high credit score, help somebody get a house and with my name. And, I've done a lot of that, the giveaway, but, how do I make it so that generational wealth into my children's money starts to happen?
Well, again, it's a little hard to specifically talk about your specific situation without talking to you, personally and seeing a full picture. But one of the things that we do utilize different vehicles that we offer to people is to help them to create generational wealth. It's one of the best ways that you can definitely do that. And so that is an option. But again, I would need to talk to you more specifically about what you're trying to do. And you said a whole lot of things about different things that you have or what have you, but it still goes back to, again, looking at, the full picture and then being able to see, what makes sense for you. But there is that opportunity. So I can definitely say that. But again, it's going to depend upon, what all that you are truly trying to do and how that looks when we sit down and look at your overall picture to be able to offer you what would be the best thing that we could recommend.
Myra,
Thank you.
Myra, are you still with us? Because Myra had a question. I see she's getting ready to leave. She wanted to know, what do you do when you don't have anyone to leave your assets to? Myra, are you still with us? I don't know. I see she said a goodbye at 6:25. But anyway, do you have an answer?
Yeah, I do, because I mean, I'm a single person, not married, no kids. And so, I mean, everybody obviously won't maybe think the way I do, but my thought is I'm going to create at least $1 million legacy fund that I want to leave behind and be able to have someone manage that, an executor in place to manage it, or to be able to provide opportunities for people the young people in my family that that want to do certain things, from opening businesses, going to college, and things of that nature. And so, that's something that you can possibly, look at doing. It requires, you putting the right structure in place for that to work, but it's definitely something that's doable. And then there's, people always can leave it to churches, to the HBCUs, to, there's all types of things. I mean, the university that I work at, most of the buildings are a result of someone leaving a legacy to that college through the same type of vehicles that we talk about. And so there's a lot of opportunities, it just depends upon what, your interest and who you want to benefit. For me, I want to make sure that other people like me that come, that have a hand up, because that's what happened with a lot of these other people. I mean, they have what they have, the Trumps and everybody else. They got all this stuff because somebody gave them a hand up, and we have less because most times either we don't have the hand up to give them, or we don't leave the hand up. Like I have a friend that has a lot of stuff that he has, but he's going to spend everything. He's just already said, I'm not leaving a dime.
I ain't mad at him.
But again, that's how we then end up in the same situation where, okay, if you don't do that and everybody else is doing that, then, and there's ways to do it where you can still enjoy yourself, but at the same time create an opportunity for other people. And so, that's part of the thing with my godmother. My godmother didn't have anyone to leave things to, and so because her only child died, and so she left it. Unfortunately, there's things that she didn't think about when she was doing it, but I plan on leaving even that as a legacy, because I was blessed to have that when it's all settled with what we're going through, and I want to make sure that blessing passes on to others that can use it. But I also plan on that no one will get whatever it is without having a proper understanding of how to manage, and maybe putting some things in place, because there's things you can do to make sure that they are responsible, to make sure that they kind of almost force them into being managing what they're doing, and sometimes you might have to do that to make sure that they don't, just spend the money crazily, because why would you just leave it there? I can spend it myself if I want to do that.
Yeah, the only reason I said I'm not mad at your friend is because I remember listening to this one finance guy, and he told those parents, don't go borrowing from your pension and your retirements and this and that for your children, and don't sacrifice your life for theirs. You've done your part, you've raised them. If something's left when you're gone, that's fine. But in other words, when you borrow from your pension, there are penalties that your children aren't going to pay, and signing for college and all that. But I just loved his whole message, because he was telling parents to think of themselves first. You've done your part. You raised the kids. If you're in a position that you can leave them something, that's a beautiful thing. But don't sacrifice your life and your trips and things that you work so hard to do for your children. So I don't have children, so that won't be an issue for me. But, I get it. That resonated with me because you see it so much. People are, and then too, one of the things I think I remember you and I talking earlier today, other communities. My nephew went to a Jewish daycare. I guess he was 3 years old. They were already teaching them to, what is it? A penny saved is a penny earned. So we need to start talking to our children very early on about money. We need to stop shying away from wanting to talk about death. It is a reality. It's a part of living, and it's an okay thing. So, we need to stop being secretive about where our whatever, where your assets are, where your life insurance is. You don't have to tell people everything, but you need to know, hey, Sally, you are the executor of my will, and I'm looking for you to do X, Y, and Z. And if somebody is kind enough or thoughtful enough of you to leave you as an executor of their will, please honor their wishes. I have a friend who I lost so much respect for because he did not do what his aunts, they never had children, they trusted him, and he did what he wanted to do. And I lost major, major respect for him because of that, because it's not your call. If somebody says they want to be cremated, it's not your call to bury them. They said they want to be cremated. So those are just things that, you know, come to mind for me. And Wanda, Anthony, this has been so wonderful. And I think
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we still have 78 people on this call. So they're still hanging out listening. So it was good information.
I truly hope that I get a chance to talk to as many of you as possible. You know, my information, I believe Anthony put it in the chat, and you know, definitely, you know, would love to talk to you, and you know, and some of you maybe even collaborate with or what have you, because this is a topic that's very, very dear to me, and I know is very important, because all the things that we usually try and do as a community all kind of center around, you know, money. I don't, you know, it's not a matter of money being something that you have to worship or whatever, but it's something that's very much needed. You know, it's kind of like somebody said, next to auction. If you, when you want to do something, even to help our people. I mean, we don't have money, who are you going to help? You know, we always have to go asking other people, but, you know, we should be able to do things like being our own bank and creating generational wealth and just doing the different things that, you know, we can do if we just educate ourselves and just do better and pay better attention, and then prepare the generations that come after us to do the same, because that's how things are going to change. We may not be here, but if we make that difference in them, then they will be able to, and we can change these stupid articles that come out of, you know, like Forbes talking about in 2053, we're going to have a net worth of zero, because, you know, unfortunately, everything that we do is, we don't have the assets, you know, and so wealth is only going to be there if we are able to generate the assets to have that. And it's not because we work and we make a certain amount of money, because the same amount of money we make is the same amount of money that we're spending.
Absolutely.
Ellen, if I may.
Okay, go ahead,
Ellen, just real quick. You know, I'd like to thank you very much. This was a phenomenal, amazing Zoom today, and I greatly appreciated that I'm on it, because as Helen, as you know, I'm kind of stuck in that position right now. But what I wanted to say, you mentioned your nephew going to the Jewish school. With the Jews, they actually, when the children are born and for their birthday, they don't go buy stupid toys and clothes. They actually give them a share of some stock, or they start an account and they put money in that account. They teach them how to manage those accounts as well. Also, we used to have the black banks, and then everything that we had that looked like us is definitely gone. And Forbes and them, they trying to set us up for that fall, so we won't have anything. But unfortunately, us as people, it seems like we're just walking right on, you know, in that direction, because I don't know, Jordans or whatever is more, Kim Kardashian or whatever is more important than our future and generational wealth. And thank you again.
Thank you, Jennifer. Diane, real quick, because we're trying to wrap it up. And for those of you who want to stick around, we're going to talk a little bit afterwards about the Supreme Court justice nomination of a Black woman. Diane, real quick.
So thanks. Two things to Ms. Honore. What's her thoughts on 529 plans and cryptocurrency?
529 plans, they can be good, but because I know that the vehicles that we utilize actually allow you to do something that encompasses what the 529 plan does and gives you a more benefit overall. I generally will suggest to a person that they at least compare, because the difference with the 529 plan is that if you use it, if you have it, it's only able to be used for a college or education. And if your child gets a scholarship or you know, doesn't decide to go to college, then you're not going to have that benefit. I mean, you should find somebody else to give it to, and then it becomes a taxable situation. Wow. Also, because it's in the market, then that's another issue you have to worry about, and because I've had people who've lost money in that. Well, we have vehicles that you can get the same benefit from without having to put it in the market and give them the same ability to get that college savings established. And so in terms of cryptocurrency, that's something that I am looking to eventually get involved in. I do have other people that I work with that do involve themselves, and it's something that I think is good. But one of the things that I will say is because there's been a lot lately, if you look in the news, there was a lot of loss recently. And, it's something that I think, unfortunately, if it was like years past, I probably would have been the first one in. But now, maybe I'm a little too cautious, but I rather wait a little bit and understand and make sure I get in the right way with the right people, because there's a lot more to it. And most people, they don't realize it's just like equity. It's only equity, or it's only going to be money if you can get it out of whatever vehicle you have it in. And, there was somebody, I don't know if people know who George Fraser is, but he's a longtime network marketer that basically came on a Black Talk radio program last week and was talking about how he lost over close to $20,000 in the using crypto.com, which is what they named our stadium after. They spent $750,000 or $50 million to name the stadium out here that the Lakers play at. And they told him basically that they had no responsibility. And so he's starting the campaign to try and create some regulation on it, because there's not a lot of regulation. And so it's a good vehicle, because I know people who use it for all kinds of things, even in real estate now. But you have to know, it's like everything else. It's just like with any type of financial vehicles, you have to have the proper education, make sure your money is in the right situation, and that the ins and outs of it before you fully jump in there, or you could be in a situation where you might find yourself with some surprises later. But I really think it's a good thing, and I wish I actually had gotten involved a long time ago. But so
thank you.
I don't understand it. I'm so old, I can't learn anything new.
I think we're going to have to, though, because it's here to stay in some shape or form, because they're doing everything with it now, even purchasing cars and things. So
wow, yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for coming. This has been so informative. I think that I'll make sure you get a copy of the chat. So don't worry about trying to copy all this information. I'll send it to you. Okay. And I can't thank you enough. And I'm sure that, some of these folks will follow up with you and come again.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And I'll be calling you.
Yeah. So for those people who want a copy of this, I just put in the chat, I have a YouTube channel, Miss Higgy, and I will post it there. I'll email it, but just in case you miss it, if you're on the phone and you can't hear it, I don't have an email address for you or whatever the case is, you can go to YouTube and look and subscribe to my channel, Miss Higgy, and you'll see it there. And of course you can email me and I will get you whatever information you want, and make sure that you're able to get in touch with Wanda and Anthony. All right, so on that note, I'm going to say good night and thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Wanda. This was very good, very informative. It's such a blessing. A lot of Black women are scared to ask questions, and if they're not sure of stuff, they don't say anything. So this was very informative and an eye-opener.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording, but for those of you who want to hang around and talk about the Supreme Court Justice or anything else, we're here. And thank you again and good night.
Good night.